Imagine going to a physical therapist for a broken leg, but they just keep prescribing exercises for a sprained wrist.
Hmm.
They're, technically doing therapy, but by completely ignoring the actual injury, they're not just failing to help, they might actually be making it worse.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Right. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at how modern mental health treatment often does exactly that. And I'm grabbing my notebook to play the student today because we really need to figure out why therapy is failing so many people by, just totally ignoring their culture.
And I will gladly step into the lecture role to help us unpack the underlying mechanics here.
Yeah.
So our starting point today is section 16.5 of chapter 16 from Psychology 2E.
Got it.
And the mission is to understand why culture is this crucial, missing puzzle piece in mental health care, and to expose the invisible barriers keeping people from getting the help they actually need.
Okay, so where does this mismatch actually start?
Well, it starts with what the textbook calls the sociocultural perspective. The core reality is that you simply cannot practice, like colorblind or culture-blind therapy.
Because it just doesn't work.
Exactly. If a practitioner doesn't integrate a patient's background, they are essentially treating a phantom. To illustrate this, the authors introduce us to José. He's an 18-year-old Hispanic male.
Oh, right, and he's coming in for depression, but treating just the clinical symptoms of that depression completely misses the root cause, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
So José is gay, but his traditional, highly religious family has explicitly taught him that homosexuality is wrong.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
Right, so the depression is really a symptom of this intense cultural and religious collision. You can't just, hand him a worksheet on positive thinking.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it.
No, a therapist has to actually navigate that specific familial and religious friction.
That makes a lot of sense. So if we take, standard Eurocentric therapy, where the goal is usually self-actualization and finding your individual truth, and apply it to a client from a heavily collectivist background.
Like a traditional Chinese family, for instance.
Right. That isn't just unhelpful, it could actively cause harm. So using Eurocentric individual-focused therapies on a collectivist Chinese client is basically like trying to use a map of New York to navigate Tokyo.
That is such a good analogy. And section 16.5 zeroes in on this exact individualist versus collectivist clash.
You just can't force it.
You really can't. If you try to force individualistic problem solving on a collectivist client, the therapy fundamentally breaks down. This is why practitioners have to develop cultural competence.
Which basically means adapting the whole healing mechanism to fit the client's worldview, right?
Exactly.
Okay, wait. If effective therapy requires this, highly tailored cultural map, I have a question about who actually gets to use it.
Go for it.
I always assumed the gap in therapy utilization was purely a socioeconomic issue. Like, marginalized communities utilize services less just because they lack insurance or, bus fare or time off work.
Right. It makes complete logical sense to assume that, but the data is wild.
Really?
Yeah, when researchers controlled for income, insurance, and physical access, the disparity stayed exactly the same.
Hey, seriously, so if it's not the wallet and it's not physical access, it has to be, the clinic environment itself.
Yes. Let's look at eating disorders for a second. The textbook notes that bulimia is actually more prevalent among Hispanic African-American women than white women.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A lot of people don't, yet they engage in treatment far less.
Because the environment just isn't built for them?
Precisely. We're talking about a severe lack of bilingual professionals, deep cultural concerns about family privacy, and a very valid fear that a therapist outside their culture simply will not understand their reality.
So even if we magically waive all copays and put a clinic on every corner, we hit another wall. The psychological roadblock, right? Stigma.
Yeah, and it is a massive generational wall. Many marginalized groups harbor a deep mistrust of the mental health system itself.
Like a historical mistrust.
Exactly. For example, some African-American communities have a historical fear of psychiatric hospitalization. They often turn instead to the Black church, which provides alternative, culturally grounded support systems.
Right, relying on community instead.
Yeah, or take older Korean Americans. In one study mentioned in section 16.5, 71% of them viewed depression as a personal weakness.
71%, wow.
Yeah, and a problem that's significantly worsened by severe language barriers.
So you combine viewing depression as a personal failure with having, zero Korean-speaking professionals in your area, and people are entirely boxed out. But okay, as a student looking at this, how do practitioners actually overcome that? How do you dismantle a barrier deeply ingrained in someone's identity?
Well, the textbook points us to guidelines from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI.
Okay, what do they suggest?
Overcoming this requires way more than just hanging a safe space sign.
Mm.
It requires practitioners to practice profound, non-judgmental listening and to carefully monitor their clinical language.
So active destigmatization.
Right, you have to actively destigmatize the struggle in real time to build trust. Because right now, the fear of rejection is so strong that even young children dealing with depression are terrified of their peers finding out.
God, that's heartbreaking. But it makes the goal for the future of healthcare so clear. For you listening, the core takeaway is that effective mental health care doesn't just treat symptoms in a vacuum. It absolutely requires understanding a person's entire cultural world.
Yeah, and we all play a role in dismantling the stigma that keeps those clinic doors effectively locked.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a critical question to consider. If our mental health and the very mechanisms of how we heal are so deeply rooted in our specific cultural background,
Which they clearly are.
right, then how will psychological therapies need to fundamentally evolve as global cultures become increasingly blended and interconnected?
That is a fascinating question to leave you with. Someday soon, treating that broken leg is going to require a medical manual with anatomy from all over the world. Thanks for diving in with us today.